we'll put it like that.
Nice.
What's it like? I was actually there in attendance in Cleveland for Coe's first career NFL touchdown, which was awesome. And,
Awesome.
It was a great game. You could hear me on camera. I was just screaming, "Say it ain't so, Coe! Say it ain't so!" Sadly, from there, the game kind of went off the rails a little. That was the last high moment of that game, but it was a great game. Overtime loss, fun time.
Yeah.
How was that moment for you? Seeing the first, whether it was on TV, in person, wherever you were, seeing his first NFL touchdown. How was that?
Well, dude, I mean, we were at home because it was a away game. We don't travel to a lot of the away games because we can get into that later. But, to watch that and to think I wished I was there live. So to have your video was so cool. And just that, this is so cool. I mean, that was so cool for us. Catching it from Tom Brady, right? Like he's got the ball yet. I mean, first NFL touchdown means a lot, right? I mean, as a dad, this is so cool to see. And it was fun to watch. And, it didn't have the outcome we wanted, but still the same. What a memory! What a memory to have, right? So,
and honestly,
cool.
those. One of the best guests ever, the Buccaneers in the house tonight. You guys hear him on Tampa radio all the time. He's one of the best in the business. My favorite personal in the business. That's why I'm elated tonight. Growing up in the Chicago area, you're used to sports radio. That's what gets me through the day. So this man does help get me through the day, I will say, with the Pat and Aaron show at work. Nothing like it. So it's incredible. It looks like we got Stunna bumbling in. I'm Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like you got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
And he was trying to pull me in big time. And then I was like, nothing's happened with Indianapolis yet. Like, I really want to give Indy a chance. And then also I talked to Cody Gruden, once he took over Rich McCann, and still like, well, look, I was like, y'all just give me the opportunity to explore free agency, see what's going on, and then kind of make us do it.
All right, everyone, you are tuned into the Buccaneers, a wide receiver, Kalen Geiger, and we are about to have a great pod. This is the Buccaneers. You're tapped in, and here we go. Welcome back into the Buccaneers, ladies and gentlemen. ManCave Monday. Oddly enough, not a victory Monday. Still doesn't make sense to me why it's not, but we'll get into that and a lot more here, for better, for worse. A Buccaneer legend coming back to play for the Bucs. Creamsicle game on our hands. Jersey talk, issued jerseys, game issued, team issued, and then the Bucs debacle yesterday and so much more. With the great Bucs by 30, Tampa Tones here as our great intro song plays. Zack, we're already getting the comments. Christopher Cole says JPP's a dog. Richard is so happy. It seems like that we got JPP, or maybe he's sad that we lost the game, but nonetheless, Zack, we're back on a ManCave Monday, brother. Long time no talk. How the hell are you doing?
Doing well. Two things can be true, Richard. You can be happy about JPP and sad about the loss. So that's what we'll go with.
I couldn't tell, literally, because people use this emoji for good or bad sometimes. So I'm like, I know he's a JPP fan, but at the same time, that loss is so depressing. It was really bad. And Zack, we'll get into it. We're going to pull no punches here with the comments coming in. Richard saying defense isn't defending, offense isn't scoring, special teams on the wrong side of special, same problems, no change. And Zack, I want to allude to first and foremost, a little disappointed. I know it's early yet, but we haven't heard of a special teams discussion today. You open the game with a kick return across the 50 against a team like the Saints, who have scored very minimal open and drive points to this point. And by the way, that just goes and gives the Saints a lead right off the bat. Never good starting off 7-0, and then weather becomes a factor. That lead of 7, next thing you know, seems even more insurmountable. I know we came back eventually, but it all plays part of the core, Zach. And we started as both half as bad, each half about as bad as you can, and in part, it's special teams week in and week out. I think Thomas McGahee never call for a guy's job, but it's almost to that point. We've been saying it for what, a month or two now.
Yeah, I don't know that we've had a game where there wasn't at least one special team snafu. It started early with the missed kicks and the blocked kicks, and then the kickoff returns have been a problem all season. We haven't really seen Cam Johnson really taking the next step as a returner. I mean, it's like I would just rather see them take a knee in the end zone and get the ball to 35 than to watch him barely make it to the 30. I say that, and he'll probably spring one next week, but it's just been that kind of season with the special teams. They have been probably the most consistently bad element of the three phases throughout the season. We, at least with the offense and the defense, we've seen good games here and there, but special teams, I think, has been consistently bad over every single one of the games thus far.
It's been head scratch and puzzling, and I mean, our kickers figured it out. They struggled early, but now they've turned the corner. The return game can't seem to do the same. Punt return, we still hold our own, but kick return's just abysmal. Kickoff coverage is abysmal. Just things that should easily be addressed and fixed haven't been yet. So first and foremost, we'll start with that. Richard taking blame, saying ever since he bought Baker's away creamsicle, they've gone downhill. Never take blame. I mean, I'm always looking around. What can I do superstition-wise? And then I think at days on, maybe my wallet being in that position had nothing to do with that touchdown. So don't take too much harsh credit for that. Eric, why not tomorrow? We're going to do our Tune Me Up Tuesday. You could come on for 5 to 10 minutes, call in, and link up with us tomorrow if you want on our Tune Me Up Tuesday show. Zach and I have a lot to get to in a little time here on Man Cave Monday. We do appreciate it, but come back tomorrow. We'll give you the link. 5 to 10 minutes could be yours on the floor. All right. There will be some sort of coach and staff shakeup this offseason, but would they really fire Bowles after extending him prior to the season? I think it really just depends how the fate lies the rest of the way, Zach. I think if the Bucs make a run, they win 2 playoff games somehow, or at least win a playoff game and hang tough in game number 2, I think we're having a different discussion. But I think even at this point, if the Bucs back their way in and lose first round in the playoffs, sure, I wouldn't put it as a guarantee that Bowles is gone, but let's just say the hot seat keeps getting hotter and hotter, and let's not pretend like the Glazers, I know it's the unclassy thing to do in business, but they're used to a winning product. I don't know if the fired term would be the right word, but I think they would make something happen where a change would occur if things continue to go south. Now, I think Todd Bowles saves himself, Zach, with a winning streak, a division win, a playoff win, and a good showing in a second playoff game, potentially. But that's no guarantee either. I think we're truly either way of the spectrum, fired, non-fired, promotion to the front office, whatever might happen. I don't think there's a guaranteed one way or another at this point.
No, I don't either, but I will say they fired Gruden after an extension, so it's not something that is out of the realm of possibility, right? It's all going to depend on what happens these next few weeks. They've gotten accustomed to winning. You know, we had a long streak of losing, and it wasn't so bad to hire a coach, fire a coach, turn everything over really quickly. But, you know, they got accustomed to winning. They got accustomed to people being in the stadium, the primetime games, all of that exposure. And the last thing you want to do is waste the talent that we have on the field. So I can see them doing something. You know, I wouldn't be one of those situations either where I'd be surprised where if it's, a Bowles quote unquote retirement at the end of the season. Because then they don't have to pay out that contract. So there's some possibilities out there. If Bowles does stay, I'm very low on Bowles at this point in time. But if he does stay, I would really love to see them bring in a defensive coordinator just to get another voice in the room about certain things, maybe making adjustments, reevaluate the staff, the scheme, those types of things. But we don't know. We got 5 games left, and that's what's going to determine the the offseason moves.
Definitely so. And, I do believe, first and foremost, I want to say I do think coaching is the brunt of the problem. But another problem is this defense just doesn't have the horses like it once did. And as sad as it is to say, Levante is a shell of him old self. I mean, he's missing tackles in the backfield on running backs that weren't even getting playing time a couple weeks ago. Are you kidding me? And then Antoine Winfield Jr., he's still playing good, but he's nowhere near the level of elite he was just from 2020 to 2023. Injuries might be a part of that and such as well. Anthony Nelson and Logan Hall combined have not had a half a sack even since the New Orleans Saints game about 5-6 weeks ago. Those are 2 guys who just are meh. I think at year's end, we cut ties with both of them and try and find fresh depth on the D-line and edge room because they're not working out. Obviously, Kalijah Cansey's down. Vita Vea is still dang good. Inside linebacker number 2, been a consistent problem for this team. We just have nobody there. I mean, whether it was Devin White 2 years ago, KJ Britt last year, they tried to bring in Anthony Walker this offseason. That didn't work. Servace Dennis clearly isn't that great. Deion Jones drops an easy interception. Defensive backs, we do hold our own, I will say. Tyke Smith, when he's on the field, he plays well. Jamel Dean, when he's on the field, he plays well. The rookies are learning their role. But, I mean, this front 7 pretty much needs a whole overhaul, a whole makeover. This time next year, Zack, besides Cansey, Vita, and Eli Roberts, I'm not so sure that anybody else on that front 7 is a Buccaneer next year.
I think Yaya's back.
Well, him too. Sorry, I did forget him. Everybody else, though.
Right. No, I get what you're saying, man. I really do. I know we kind of have a little bit of a difference of philosophy when it comes to this point. But I think when you look at JTS and you look at Logan Hall, those are guys that were picked at the end of the first round because of the success that we had. We won the Super Bowl. So we had the last pick, and then the next year I think we traded back, right? We traded back to the early second round and took Logan Hall. When you're picking that late in the draft, you have to have good talent developers. When you look at the New Englands who were able to draft late and develop not on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defensive side of the ball, when you had guys like Vrabel there that could really develop that talent. You see what he's doing. He did it in Tennessee. He's doing it again in New England as the head coach there. That's the element that I think we're missing. When we draft guys early and they pan out, that's probably because they have a lot more talent than some of the guys that you're drafting later in the rounds. This is my opinion, man. I mean, I go back and I look at Bowles in Arizona. I look at Bowles with the Jets, and I don't see a whole lot of talent development, especially around the edge position. And I just don't think that he prioritizes it in his scheme, and that's why we don't see it. Right? I mean, even when we have guys that are quote unquote, dude, I saw Hassan Reddick drop back more yesterday than it seemed like I saw him rush the passer. And that's just the way that his scheme works. And that's why he likes Vita and Cansey, is because he likes that interior pressure. He doesn't really prioritize it from the outside. I mean, JPP was not supposed to be as effective as he was in the pass rush. Shaq, nobody knew Shaq was going to pop off for 19.5 sacks when we brought him in here. Like I said, I just don't think he prioritizes it. I think he would rather have the pressure up the middle and those guys on the edge contain the run and then drop back into the flats, and it's just not working.
Yeah, and I do, obviously, scheming is definitely some of it. Play calls is definitely some of it, no doubt. But I do agree with T-Kraz here a little bit where, again, you look back at the timeline and, when he took over in 2022, that was the oldest roster in the National Football League. And, things were pretty broken at that point. He got handed the keys a little late. In 2023, most dead cap in football. Last year was the year you expected the Bucs to kind of make the leap, and they didn't, right? They bowed out round 1. So this year will be telling to see how far they go. If it's a first round and down and it's kind of a repeat of last year and things aren't getting better, I think that is very telling. And again, this coaching staff, why are you elevated in front of the shows? Had him on the show. We do love Brewer here, but why is he getting elevated over a guy like Elijah Simmons, when Simmons has proven that he could at least stop the run. Maybe he's not a great pass rusher, but he could at least stop the run. No offense, our run defense is just getting gashed the past couple of weeks. We're 1-2 now since Simmons has been inactive over Brewer. And Zach, it seems like that's a move. To me, the two biggest Bulls puzzles so far outside of scheming, but just so calls in general, are the Brewer over Simmons and the non-action of the special teams room where we just struggle week in and week out.
Yeah, the Simmons not being elevated is definitely a head scratcher. He kind of looked like a diamond in the rough when we when we signed him and put him out there. He kind of made some plays, and I was like, oh damn, look at that. But I'm going to add a third element to this, man, and it's the middle of the field issues not being corrected after 3 seasons of us seeing this shit, man. Like, even if you don't have the horses per se, you could change the schematic elements to try to squeeze down the middle of the field. Like yesterday, I had zero faith that we were not going to stop, that we were going to stop them on those third downs, man. Even that one, I think it was 3rd and 14, right over the middle, 16-yard completion. Keeps the drive moving. The middle of the field has been an albatross around Bowles' neck ever since he took this job. And we've never been able to fix it, whether it's keeping a safety down or putting the linebackers back further. Like, if it has been that much of a weakness for that long, you would think that he would coach to it. Like, you got to get back further, or you got to come up further, talking to the same, whatever. That is a problem that should have been fixed because it has been such an ongoing issue. And it's frustrating to continually watch this team fail in that same area over and over again.
It very much so is. And I think 2 things could be true there. One, I do put blame more on Bowles there, and Pop's texting as well, how his middle open play after play after play, and all our opponents exploit it, and we never adjust on defense. That's what Zach said as well. Correct. 2, I think there's a reason why probably 80% of mocks out there at one point did have us taking Jihad Campbell round 1. I think people looked at Levante's fall off a little bit last year, and he's another year older, and I think people realized they overbought stock in Servachier Dennis, and they needed to address the inside linebacker room. All they did was sign Anthony Walker, and no other team even brought him in after Colts brought him in for a tryout or whatnot. But Bowles' lack of scheming and the lack of addressing of a middle linebacker position that's been neglected for 2 years now, right, wrong, or indifferent, they haven't done anything, and they should have at least drafted a guy higher or signed a more profile guy. And I know it is scheming, but Zach, that's on Jason Light not addressing the middle linebacker position for 3 seasons now. That's on him.
Yeah, it is to a part, but I will say last season, Servachier came in, he played in that Detroit game, he looked great, he got hurt right after, so we never really knew what we had. There was a lot of hope that he was going to be the guy. And when they drafted Servachier, his role was more of he's gonna take over for Levante. So he was supposed to play Levante's position, not the position that he's in. But they didn't address it in that offseason. They just kind of let Britt kind of stay there, and then they brought in Deion Jones late. And then this year with Servachier healthy, they really hoped that he would return to that form that they saw in that Detroit. Because you go back and watch that Detroit game, that dude looks all pro in that game. He's locked down. He's sure tackler. He looks great, and he's just never played up to that position, to that level again. So yeah, I can kind of see that they haven't brought anybody in. I mean, they've known for a while that Levante is getting closer to the end than he is to the beginning. So they should have brought somebody in to see if they could find somebody. But it's just frustrating, man. It really is, because all these losses that we've endured outside of the Rams could have potentially been W's, even with how shitty we played in those games, with just 1 or 2 more simple things, an untimely drop, a missed tackle, a special team snafu. And we keep talking about how good teams find ways to win those games, and it's just frustrating because I still, in my heart of hearts, feel like we are a good team. We just can't get out of our own way. Untimely penalties, man. Like, it's just It's frustrating.
And that's why I still put majority of the blame on coach and opposed to Light, just because you still got to make adjustments and you got to make do with what you got, right? Even if injuries occur or your roster is, malfunctioning in a position, you do got to adjust. But I think we could have done more, but Bowles has to do more then. Okay, hey, this is what I got at linebacker. Maybe play Izzy in there a little bit, right? I made a point yesterday where Izzy's invisible, not a knock on Izzy, and some people took it at that, but it was a knock on coaching more so, where, hey, this kid showed so much signs year one, year two. No offense if you don't have faith on him, again, not a knock on Izzy, but then why are you employing him? If it takes an injury like it did yesterday, and he played well when he came in. He had a couple tackles for loss.
He led the team in tackles, and he didn't even play the whole game.
Exactly. It's like, why hesitate? I know he was injured, but outside of his injury, why was he not playing? That's coaching malfunction right there at its finest. So the fact that Izzy's use him at linebacker. Yeah, use him as a coverage linebacker, and Levante is more the roamer if need. Try something, because whatever you're doing for the middle of the field, as Zach alluded to, isn't working. And then this team, even beyond coaching, a couple plays yesterday just very upsetting. Logan Hall, Vita Vea, Anthony Nelson, you all missed Tyler Shuck on the same damn play. Like, okay, I never want to give a little least credit to the first guy that gets there, but at least Logan Hall got there, he missed. But then you have two guys who are right there to clean up, and Vita's just a big dude, so he can't move that quick. But Anthony Nelson takes the worst angle you could possibly take. Between him and Logan Hall, again, not giving Vita a break, but he's a bigger guy, a little less mobile. You have to bring down Shuck there. What the hell? That's on third down. Then he runs for a touchdown. That's defense ineptness on the players right there. And again, I'll reiterate, coaching's main at fault, but you cannot have that happen. 3 missed tackles. We've seen it, a week ago, where Parrish call him and somebody else missed the Cardinals runner on the one play. Yep. I mean, come on, guys. And then offense, both
of those turned into touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cardinals drove down the field for a touchdown, and Shuck scored a touchdown. So 3 missed tackles resulting in 7 points. And again, we were talking about how it was good that we won last week, but shit, man, they make that field goal. We don't know what happens. That's a bad team. We got lucky, and you see what the Rams dog walked them, man. It was ugly.
Zach, to piggyback off that, I think both were on third down. The Cardinals 3 missed tackle play and the Saints 3 missed tackle play. As you said, that's a difference in a ball game right there, right? Because if you make those tackles in the Saints game, you kick a field goal, you don't get a touchdown. That's a whole difference in the tie game or not at the end right there. And then in the Cardinals game, you stop him there. Not that you blow him out, but you win by double digits. You take your foot off the gas a little bit. It's just baffling that plays are happening like that. And then week in and week out now, suddenly Igbuka and Godwin have timely drops. I mean, Baker's passes could be a little bit better too, and we'll get to that as well. But the Godwin third down drop or fourth down drop yesterday, that just can't happen. We're paying him, and I love Godwin. I love Penn State. I love Godwin. Everything about him. He's a nitty-gritty guy. He's the best of the best, top tier. Gives you everything he's got. But you've seen the drop touchdown last week, and now you see a dropped fourth down pass. And then Zack, even if you don't count that drop on Igbuka yesterday, he had another drop earlier in the game yesterday that was timely. He had a drop for first down last week that was timely. I mean, these are 1 and 2 guys. Mike Evans out, Jalen McMillan out. Their hands will help when they do return. Could be as soon as Thursday. But, Zach, when your 1 and 2 wide receivers are dropping open passes, your quarterback's banged up, so he's not playing like he once was, meaning you got to execute on the ones you should catch. The Bucs aren't taking advantage of that. And I don't want to hear it was a defensive pass interference on that, and yes, but at day's end, should not come down to that after Baker and Igbuka can't connect on a wide open play. It just shouldn't come down to that.
No, and that's your play call on fourth. That was 4th and 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's your play call. You're going to go to Cade Otton in the rain on 4th and 1 when Cade is not the same Cade as we saw last year. Like, that's the play call. You got Chris Godwin. And yeah, he had a drop earlier, but with the guys that were out there, that's who I'm going to. I don't care what else happens. I'm going to Godwin in that situation. Yeah, it's frustrating. The earlier drop by Godwin, I think Bake got it to him a little bit late. It's no excuse. He still dropped it, but he was open. He was standing there open for a bit before Baker threw him the ball. But he still got to catch that. Chris usually catches that. The one to Abuka, man, Abuka gets open so early in that route. And Bake, I don't want to say that he's late, but the throw is not like if you watch how Abuka is running, he basically he kind of stops and turns around for the ball instead of waiting to catch it naturally because it's on him. And Mike Evans catches that ball because Mike Evans is 6'4", Abuka's 6'1", so there's a height difference, right? It's not a great throw, but it's not the best catch either. It's not solely on one or the other, in my opinion. They're both at fault. Bake overthrew it, and Abuka could have caught it but didn't. But so it's not really on one more than the other. But Bake's been high all year, especially since I don't know, the Detroit game maybe. Yeah. So it's just, in my opinion, a lot of this is a lack of focus, man. These dudes didn't look like they were ready to play. They looked like they were ready to play last week. They sure as hell didn't look ready to play against the Patriots or the Bills. And it's like, it took Bowles chewing those guys' ass on the sideline against the Cards last week to get them to come, get their heads out of their ass and start playing defense on that last stop. And they shouldn't come to that. And it looks like it didn't carry over this week because everybody looked lackadaisical out there. The only drive that looked good was the one where they ran it like 7 or 8 times in a row and scored a touchdown, and then they completely went away from it.
And maybe that is why they're bringing in a guy like JPP on top of needing edge rush help, which to me, he could be good on third down, Zach. I think he could still be effective if you use, but maybe it's more to boots to asses, right? Mentality, get these guys mentally tough. Maybe it's a coach them up. I don't know, but as Ed said, could somebody say how we look at this team weeks and decide? Yeah, even JPP or anyone else, right? I think we could have brought in an edge along the way sometime and, could have been helpful. Now we have 4 games left. Hey, maybe better late than never, but we saw how ineffective Shaq Barrett was last year when we brought him in late. So this could mean maybe just leadership type help too. As they say, JPP is probably just there to be a veteran voice in the locker room. Zach, what say you? I am excited that JPP's back. A, it can't hurt the edge room, right? I mean, it can't be worse. B, we kind of need a vocal leader, as you said. It just, these guys, maybe they're not focused 100%. And C, I mean, it's JPP. At least it's just cool to have a legendary Buck back in Tampa.
Yeah, you mentioned something earlier about putting the majority of the blame on Bowles, and but life's not without blame as well, and I agree with that. But my perspective is at the opposite end of that. I think Light's biggest flaw is that he's not bold enough or aggressive enough when the time calls for it. I do think he made moves this offseason between free agency and the draft to address the defense. He brought in Reddick, re-signed McCollum, drafted heavy on the defensive side with the 2 corners, Roberts, Walker. Walker got hurt, unfortunately. We brought in, Parrish and Morrison. I think those are all good signings. But if we were truly going to take that step to the Super Bowl, or they believed that they were, and that the first 5-6 games, that's what the talk was. We were a Super Bowl caliber team. Then when Micah Parsons becomes available, that's the deal that you make. We've talked about it. You and I have talked about it on this show and the other show. 2 firsts for Micah Parsons, if you think you're a Super Bowl team, are going to be in the 30s, the late, 31, because you're going to make the Super Bowl. You're either going to win it or lose it, and those are going to be your picks. So what's our track record with those picks here lately? JTS and Logan Hall. Would you rather have JTS, Logan Hall, or Micah Parsons? Now, I know that probably means we couldn't do McCollum when we did, or Gedeke when we did, but we can always find a way. Dude, Greenberg has been a wizard with the void, whatever. We can always find a way. And good teams, aggressive teams do that. That's like the biggest difference between Roseman and Light, is Roseman he'll pull the trigger and draft picks be damned. and Light holds on to him like they're his children. And I love Jason. I'm a big Jason guy. And if I had to, that's the only thing, man. Like, you got to go big when the moment calls for it. And now here we are signing JPP, who's been out of the league for year and a half. And is it to help the edge room, or is it to help the locker room? If it's to help the locker room, I think that's more of a concern than it is if it's just to help the edge.
And our guy, our first member of the Buccaneers Brigade, honorary Buccaneer, Big Ed Rabasa, he just joined our YouTube membership. And if you want to be like Ed and join as well, go on over to our YouTube, check out our membership options, opportunities. We have 2 of them. Cool during the holidays. You get some merch. We are coming out with some t-shirts soon. Ed will get one of those for being a member. You get shouted out for being a member, and you get some other benefits and exclusives and more. We also do appreciate super chats and super thanks and all those things that help grow the show. It's never expected, always appreciated from the Buccaneers. And it's as simple as just hitting the like button on YouTube to this video, turn the subscribe button on, and turn that notification bell on, and you'll never miss a Buccaneers. So we do appreciate it. But Zach, I do think we got to make a couple notes. Cade Otton, although, he's just not playing with that same explosiveness we've seen last year. In the Raiders game last year, he took it over a little bit. This year, he did have 2 of those terrible fumble type, they're actually interceptions, which is unfortunate for Bake, but 2 of the bad drops. And then yesterday, I know it wasn't completely his fault, but again, another throw by Bake that was really in a bad spot. But, he does run a little bit short. Throw wasn't good by Bake either, so not giving Bake the benefit of the doubt. But Zach, it just seems like Cade Otton, and now every time he even makes a catch, I'm like, just hang on to the ball. Just hang on to the ball. It seems like he's also, not only him, but the tight end room in general seems like it's just regressed. I mean, just a year ago, I'm like, all right, we got 4 tight ends on their rookie contracts. All of them bring something different to the table. All of them are nifty. Now, outside of O'Keefe, who's a great blocking tight end and really good on special teams, I really find it hard to make a case for any of these guys to, stick around next year. And I like Payne Durham a lot. I like Cade Otton a lot, and I like Devin Culp a lot. But if Cade Otton's going to cost you $12 million, Devin Culp's still a question mark, which you might not be able to have at this point. O'Keefe is a free agent. He might not be back. And then Payne Durham, odds are he's a roster fringe guy probably. This tight end room could maybe need a makeover. These last month will be telling me.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if they pay Cade Otton $12 million, I'm going to go boycott out in front of Ray J. Like, there's no way. There's no way. I like Cade. Believe me, I like Cade, but he is nowhere near that guy. Nowhere near. And I believe, somebody check me on my facts, but I believe this is the second game where we've thrown to Cade on 4th down and he didn't get it past the sticks.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're right.
Now, in this game, he was standing at the stick and Bake threw it low, so he had to go down and get it, so he doesn't have the ability to make any moves. And I also think Baker threw it just a hair before Otton was expecting him to throw it, because Bake did that thing where he kind of steps up in the pocket thinking there's more pressure than there is, because the pressure rate was really low. I think it was like 22%, I think is what I read online so I don't know if the clock's a little bit faster or if he's understanding that, we've got two backups and Barton is regressed, and that's why he's ticking. Actually, we had three reserves that game because Works didn't play too. So I don't know. I'm just like, I want to see Ko back because of what he brings from the blocking game and the special teams aspects of it. We don't know what Culp is, right? We've seen flashes, but how can he not get on the field, especially when we were down Godwin and all we had was Ibuka and then, Tez, and how can Colt not get on the field then? Just at least give another option out there. Payne Durham, I think if we could find somebody better this offseason, to go do that. I wouldn't mind Otton coming back. I really wouldn't, but not anywhere close to $12 million.
Yeah, I mean, that was a cap projection by our guy Josh Capo of Pewter Report, so it could be maybe it's dropped. That was at the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it has, but when you look at guys like, and I love Pat Fryermuth, Penn State, but he's making double digits per year at tight end, I think. But I'd let him walk, Zach. I'm like you, and nothing against Cade, great kid. If you could get him on a 1 year, $6 or $7 million prove it deal, I'd entertain bringing him back potentially, but I'm not going to give him 3 years, $36 million or anything near there. I don't know. I mean, just can't.
Brizard doesn't seem like his scheme favors the tight end at all, though, as well. And I think that might be some of maybe Cade's lackadaisicalness out there on the field is that, especially the beginning of the year with all the O-line trouble, he had to stay in more and block. And now that that's kind of behind us, they haven't really done any type of favoring to his position. You know, I mean, like to your point, last year there were 3 or 4 games where he had 8, 9, 11 catches because he was the go-to. But he really is kind of an afterthought in this scheme.
And I don't know. I'm not. You know, it's just frustrating because at one point last year, all these tight ends had pretty good like Devin Culp stepped in pretty big then last year. Then he just fell off a cliff. Like I said, Cade in that Raiders game, I remember being there, and him and McMillan took that game over. You know, and then you look at Payne Durham, he's had some really 1 or 2 really nice catches a year that kind of makes you hold out hope for a guy like that. And then Keefe gives you everything he's got. So I hope they do re-sign at minimum. I know he's going to be a free agent. I mean, I'm sure you could get him on a pretty good team-friendly deal, especially coming off a big injury. But the rest of the tight end room, I don't mean to be getting ahead of myself, but, you know, in a day and age where especially your offensive line is banged up and you kind of got to check down the ball here and there, not having a great tight end. I mean, imagine if we had a Tyler Warren or a Loveland or, you know, one of these other tight ends around the league, a Bowers who are out there. Now, I'm not saying use a first-round pick on one, and all those guys are first-round picks, but I'm saying try and find one, whether it's a cheap free agent or maybe draft one. I don't know, but we got more problems to worry about in the near future than that. I mean, Zach, we got a Thursday night football turnaround with a lot of jinxes on our hands. The Kirk Cousins jinx. We've seen it time and time again. Tampa Bay Buccaneer podcast member Ed Rabasas said Kirk Cousins going to torch us. Richard said it. A couple other people have said it. Then, by the way, it's a primetime game and a creamsicle game, Zach.
And Kirk Cousins. Oh, man, I still wake up sometimes out of a cold sweat just like, you like that? Haunts me, man. Like, how did we lose that game to that guy and his khakis and his Cole's whole ass wardrobe? How did we lose that game? And then he comes back to get us again when he's a Falcon. Like, man, I don't know. I'm gonna be like, if we lose to the Falcons and Kirk goes for 504 touchdowns, don't call me, don't text me. I'm gonna just be sitting in a dark room by myself, staring into the abyss. It's gonna be awful. I'm gonna have to take time off work. It's gonna be a whole thing, and so let's hope it doesn't happen. But I don't have a lot of faith, man. I really don't, because it seems like he knows exactly where to go with the ball because the scheme doesn't adapt to the situation. Like, you go back and watch those games, man, he's just picking us apart 10, 15 yards down the field. It's not even like they're not even going over the top. He's just dinking and dunking when we should be bringing the house, because the dude can't move. Right, the dude, he can't move, and that we didn't even really talk about. We didn't even blitz Shuck, man. We didn't, like, we showed it a lot and then backed out of it, and then, you know, here he is breaking 3 tackles and scoring touchdowns. And the longer touchdown run that he had was a play they ran earlier in the game, so they ran the same play twice and scored a big touchdown on it. So I don't, and Bijan, we haven't talked about Bijan. The last 2 running backs of 5 yards a carry, 4.6 or something against the Saints. Man, that doesn't give me any hope for what Bijan's going to do. I don't know, man. I am PTSDing all over this game on Thursday.
What one of the 3 jinxes are you most worried about? Kirk Cousins, creamsicle game, or primetime?
Kirk Cousins. followed closely by primetime. I don't put any stock into the uniforms, man. I really don't. I think whatever you're wearing doesn't matter how you play on the field. And if you let the creamsicles haunt you as a player, then you're a very weak-minded athlete. Like can you imagine if what you wore caused you to play shittier on the field? Like how bad half the NBA would be, because some of those NBA uniforms now are atrocious.
I think it was in baseball where Chris Sale, the former White Sox pitcher and Red Sox pitcher, now a member of the Atlanta Braves, I think the White Sox were wearing throwbacks one day and they had to change it last minute or something because Chris Sale threw such a fit. He took a pair of scissors and cut the jersey up, and that was like the only jersey they had made for. It's like some players, fans, whoever, just look into it way too much. It's like they're all made the same. They might look different. Like I said about superstitions earlier, what you wear on the field has no factor into if you win the game or not. Huge Purple says it kind of matters, though, dude. Not really. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah, I mean, people act like we didn't go to the NFC Championship game wearing the creamsicles, man. I mean, it's not like it was all bad. We did win some in them as well, but it's just not. It's not a real thing. It really isn't. Especially here when they came back, because the players should see how everybody's embraced them and loves them. Before it became like it was like shameful to be in your creamsicle, but not anymore.
And Zach, I just want to say, we're talking about the creamsicles. We're talking about throwbacks. NFL honoring some oldies today. JPP coming back. Phillip Rivers all of a sudden might be coming back to the Colts. I mean, hell, let's have Will Golston, Shaq Barrett, maybe call up Kelvin Johnson, Darrelle Revis. I mean, we got JPP and Phillip Rivers back. It is cool. Does it stop here? You think anybody else comes back? I mean, you see this time to time. Cole Beasley did it the one year. Randy Moss did it. Now these guys are doing it. You think any other veterans, if you had to put money on it, Will Golston or Ryan Jensen or Shaq Barrett, which one of those three would the Bucs bring back, you think?
Out of those three, I think Will's probably in the best playing game shape, so I would say Will.
And at this point, I mean, nothing against Shaq, but you already took one stab in the dark on an edge, right? I don't think it would be needed to bring both those guys back. I'd rather see a Will Golston, hopefully shore up the middle of a Devin Neal running down our throats, or Tyler Shuck. And again, Will Golston was such a big body. You have to worry about stuff like that. Not saying he will come back, or not trying to start rumors here, but Zach, if you're going to be playing CJ Brewer, and again, I love Brewer. This isn't a knock on Brewer. He's a friend of the shows, and I want him on the team as a depth body. But if you're playing him, and I know Cansey's hurt, but you have Simmons. So if there's something you see that wrong in Simmons, would it hurt to make the call to Golston? We see him on Monday with the show with Casey Phillips. He looked, like you said, he looks like he could get in there and play right away. And on top of that, he's still keeping his football mind because he's helping assistant coach a high school team. Yeah,
I really thought after Cansey went down, they were going to make the call because I do know for a fact that Will wanted to play another season. So I was really hoping that they were going to make the call.
I hope it's not too late, because I would like to see, say Bucs win and Bijan goes ham. Frickin' bring back Will Golston starting next week. And even if Cansey's nearing a return, I think a Will Golston, Vita Vea, Kalijah Cansey, Eli Roberts, defensive line, Greg Gaines. I think that's your five right there. Then boom. But probably not going to happen. Just having fun here with some hypotheticals here. But you never know with Phillip Rivers and JPP coming back. Phillip hasn't played in the league since 2020. JPP since 2023. Will Golston just played last year. So There we go. Chris saying let's bring Shaq back and Golston back. Zach, last thoughts before we get on to our next topic here. Boy, this is how you know it's a fun show, because we are already 50 minutes in and we're just yeah, we haven't even gotten to the man cave portion of the Man Cave Monday. But Zach, any last minute things you want to talk about Bucs By? Well, we could always talk Bucs, but about the game Thursday or about the Saints game or anything in that nature.
Man, I don't even want to think about that Saints game anymore. It was embarrassing. That was it was embarrassing to lose to the Rams, but a different kind of embarrassing because the Rams are a good team. This is one of those losses where, we've got called back into the office recently, and I wear Buck stuff to the office every single day. This morning was the first morning that I stood in my closet and I was like, do I want to put myself through this? Because I'm going to put this shirt on and then I'm going to have to listen to everybody talk about how your team just lost to a 2-win Saints team. Still did it. This is the shirt I wore to work. So, I kept the tradition alive, but I contemplated it this morning for the first time.
Zach, it's funny you say that because, every loss win, I do the same with the Bucs. Today I wore this to work, because it's the holidays. I'm like ugly Christmas sweater, hat. But I do also always have a part of me because my briefcase is a Buccaneers briefcase. So when I walk into work, I always have the Bucs represented. Oh, I use a lanyard for my keys. That's Buccaneers. So regardless, even if I'm not wearing, and my jacket was Bucs as well. So I was still wearing Bucs. But this is the first time where I didn't wear clothes, a shirt or hat. I lied. My socks, I just looked down. Those are Bucs too. So I can't get away from it. But regardless, we had the same thought. Like, man, should we kind of detach ourselves? No, we battled through the storm, and we both still represented our team. Because at day's end, it's a Bucs life, baby. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Well, I would have it any other way. I'd go undefeated and win the Super Bowl every single year if we could. But regardless, we're going to get on our high horse on Thursday and hope we come out and kick their ass and beat the Falcons and go from there. That's all we could really do in the shady season. And speaking of shady, Zach, a lot of jersey collectors, memorabilia collectors don't understand just how shady some jerseys could be out there. A lot of people buy jerseys and they think they're getting a team issued or a player issued or a game issued. And it could be a custom or something, and they don't really know how to, even if it isn't issued, people just throw the term issued around without really knowing if it's a player issued, a game issued, or team issued. Kind of just hope newbie collectors out there getting their foot in the door with, hey, this is how you should take a deep dive into issued jerseys. And just because you hear the word issued doesn't mean you assume what it is. You got to take a deep dive into the 3 varieties, customs, all that stuff, and then come up with your own opinion with help of, like, if a newbie collector's out there, I'd still make my own opinion, but maybe hit up Zach and me and see what we think as well. But Zach, maybe other recommendations on issued jerseys.
Yeah, I think the biggest caveat to this is people hear the term team issued or game issued and think it's legit, and they feel a lot more a lot more comfortable in making that purchase because it has that moniker attached to it. But to your point, there's really like 3 tiers of quote unquote issued jerseys. And what you need to understand about issued is that the materials for those jerseys are made specifically for that team. So when you look at the lowest level of those jerseys, what we call the custom issued jersey, is it was a blank shell that had no name and no number on it. And they put 13 on it and slapped Evan's name on it, and they're selling it as a team issued. But the reality of that situation is that jersey was never intended for Mike Evans. It might be the wrong cut. And what we mean by that is each of these jerseys has a different cut. There's a QB cut. There's a skill cut. There's a linebacker cut. And then you have your linemen, both offensive and defensive. So if you see a Mike Evans that's a linebacker cut, you might be like, well, Mike's not a linebacker. That's not his jersey. But he has worn a linebacker cut. So there's a lot of layers to this thing. So if you see a jersey that's listed as issued, the things that you want to check for are what size is it? Because the players' sizes are pretty consistent, unless it's a completely different style of jersey. I know there's a lot of back and forth around the color rush jerseys from a few years ago, the all red ones, that they're cut different, so the sizes were a little wonky on them. But with these new style jerseys, they're mostly the same. So a custom issued jersey is never made for that player. Is it a good jersey? Absolutely. It's going to be a better quality collectible than a retail authentic. The material's better, but it's not something that you want to invest a lot of your money into because it doesn't have a whole lot of value because, again, it was never intended for that player, nor ever reached a locker room. It's just extra pieces that they had, and they put it together, and they're selling it.
Just like those, and I think my biggest pet peeve example of this was those, I think it was Brady and Evans, maybe Gronk too, but the Brady and Evans Super Bowl jerseys that were supposedly issued that were put on mannequins. No, those are, like Zach just alluded to, those were never intended for them to wear. Those were never intended to wear in a game, and those were never intended for the team to even take over. Zach, I would just call those loosely issued or custom. I'd call those custom, to be honest with you, probably.
Yeah, and I think when those first dropped right after the Super Bowl, didn't an Evans sell for like $10K?
Yeah.
It was ridiculous, and that jersey was never intended. They were sold as Super Bowl backups, but dude, they don't make 9 backup jerseys because there was a ton of them that sold, and it's a shame that people kind of got duped into thinking that those are backup Super Bowl jerseys because they weren't. They were just Nike display jerseys on the mannequins in the team store or at like a Nike store. They did Evans and Kelsey, and they put Super Bowl patches on them, and man, they got sold for a lot of money. So it's unfortunate, but that's one of the things is you got to ask questions, you got to do your research because you can lose a lot of money.
Couldn't agree more. And I think it's as simple as this, and it's not really simple. Again, it is a problem for newer collectors specifically because I think some veteran collectors don't do it on purpose necessarily, but I think they kind of take advantage with sales of issued items. And again, it's not a purposeful thing, but they're kind of just hungry. Oh my God, I just got this epic Derrick Brooks jersey for, this price, but hey, it's really this. But Zach, I think it breaks down to pretty simple. If the jersey was in the player's locker and they literally intended for it to be backup use, that's a legit team/game issued jersey, player issued, team issued, game issued. That's all of the above right there. Because A, it was meant for the player if it was in their locker as a backup. B, it was meant for the team if it's in the locker. And C, it was meant for the game if it's wearable in the locker. Now, where you draw a blind, where I don't like things is when it was literally never in the locker room nor player's possession. And it's like, well, even if you did make that jersey and it never got shipped to the player or the team, to me, what valuable is it really? Because then it's just, like pretty much a Nike Viper Flex on steroids or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah, one more thing on customs, and then I'll talk about what you just talked about. Another big one that you see with the customs are the Pro Bowl jerseys. There are a ton of the Nike Pro Bowl jerseys, the gold ones, the blue ones, the white ones. You'll see them on NFL auctions a lot. I think one year they sold 3 or 4 Vitas and several Winfields, and they just had extra stuff, and they just kept making them. The one year they were selling them as team game issued, and they didn't even wear jerseys in the Pro Bowl because they did away with the Pro Bowl game. So they're out here mislabeling, and that's a big auction site that's doing that. So just be careful with that. But to your point, I think the real sketchiness comes between what I call team issued and game issued. Team issued is what we're seeing on Bucs bids right now, where they have a ton of creamsicle, a ton of the 76 jerseys that they're calling team/game issued. They are the right cut and the right size for the player, but they don't have any intention of that player ever seeing that jersey, right? Because we've seen 4 or 5 Ibukas, all number 9, right? Number 9, orange creamsicle. That jersey will never be made for Ibuka and put in his locker because he changed his number. Same thing with the white ones, but they've sold a ton of them for thousands of dollars. Those are team issued. They're made with the right material for the right player for the right cut, but they're never intended for that player to wear. And that's evident by the Evans jerseys that are being sold on there because they have no captain's patch, right? So if you see a team issued, quote unquote, team/game issued jersey, and it's a guy that's a captain, Baker, Levante, Mike, there's no captain's patch. That's your middle tier. That's your team issued jersey because it has no intention to ever be worn by that player. Now, when you get to what's the game issued or the player issued, that's their size, their cut, their preferences. Some of these players like alterations, so you might see the neck changed or the sleeve changed, and that jersey's probably hung in a locker. They just never got around to wearing it because they didn't need to. Some guys wear the same jersey all season. Some guys change at halftime and wear multiple jerseys throughout the game. It's all player preference. So there's probably several of those quote unquote game jerseys, player issued jerseys that are legit and ready to go. They'll have the captain's patch. They'll have whatever other branding and alterations for that specific player. And if you're looking to go with the issued collectible and you want the most bang for your buck, that's the one that you want to get. That's going to hold the most value. But don't get tricked and spend money on the wrong thing.
That's just it, because this is a hobby where it is hard to get refunds. You know, once you buy something, it's kind of yours, and you can't really make the case to return it unless you're dealing with somebody top notch, right? But yeah, if you're Brad Johnson out there, you probably get 3-4 game worn jerseys a game. So, you know, it just depends on the player too. But as Zach alluded to, it's an umbrella effect, right? The highest effect is actual game issued. If you are game issued, that means you're team issued, which means you're player issued, which means you're standard issued. Now, if you're team issued, it might not mean you're game issued. And if you're just issued, it might not mean you're even team issued. So it's kind of the umbrella effect. You're really, to me, aiming for, as Zach alluded to, locker room authentication. Wasn't in the locker room. If so, it's still pretty cool to me, right? It was meant. And I have one of those jerseys remain, and I got rid of a lot of that, but I have an L-Stop from back in the day that's a clear issue jersey that was, you know, meets all the specs, everything. You could tell it was in the locker. But at day's end, not as cool as a game used one still, because they didn't wear it right, or even a game worn one. And Zach, even that term, game used, means a player played in the game, in my opinion, or versus game worn, to me, where it's like, yeah, you wore it for the game, but it might have not been actually used in the game. So I think those are two terms that could use a little bit of differentiation as well. Game used versus game worn. I think there's a difference there.
Yeah, I do think so, because a regular season Kyle Trask, what would you deem it? You know, used or worn? You know, he wore it. He's on the sideline the whole game. He never saw the field, but he wore it. So it's game worn, but it's not game used. And you'll have, especially with rookies or first year guys that maybe don't see the field, but they dress. Those are worn, but not used. So yeah, and a lot of this is terminology, and it's just you're probably going to make a mistake and overpay for something, but then you learn, and then you don't make that mistake again. I've made it. Tones has made it. It happens because, as we mentioned in one of these shows before, this isn't really a hobby where you can kind of sit on something while you're trying to decide if you want to buy it or not, because somebody else will come in and buy it. So a lot of times you make an impulse buy thinking that I got to get this now so somebody else doesn't beat me to it. And then you're like, shit. But, at that point, it's too late. So it's challenging, and it's not like you can't just jump in and expect to go, because your bank account will not appreciate it.
Yeah, and especially you make a great point with the rare or variation jerseys, right? And then it's a circle story. Take the white creamsicles, for example. Everybody bid crazy amounts on those because they got to have them, right? Right. In a year from now, or 2-3 years from now, maybe not a ton, but 2 to 3 more of those will resurface. And then eventually someone will get tired of their white creamsicle and go to sell it, and it'll sell for a little less. And slowly those jerseys will make its way down as well. And to kind of piggyback off Zach's point of the Mike Evans without captain patches getting manufactured, same thing with any pewter jersey for bidding on there the past 2 seasons. They had no intentions of wearing pewter last year, and it's not even in the catalog this year. So if you're bidding on any pewter issue jerseys, again, it's not game issued this season because they never intended to actually wear it. And Zach, before we get to our mail day and kind of put a bow on things as Monday Night Football is coming, one of my biggest item pet peeves were all those Brady gloves and cleats that we've seen the past couple of years too. People were paying ridiculous prices on those at first, when those items to me are just Sports Authority shelved items.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I don't do issued, not that I don't like them or think there's anything there. I just think there's too many variables, and I don't want to have to traverse that every single time. But some of the prices that we see on this issued gear, man, is mind blowing. Those 76 creamsicles all sold for ridiculous amounts on Bucs bids. Those Brady's gloves and cleats sell for thousands and thousands of dollars. He never even knew they existed, man. It's not like he had a whole room of these in his house and decided to sell them. They're not really for him. Like, I got these gloves right here. I just got these gloves. These are Mike Evans gloves. Like, they got his name in them, and they're specifically made for him. He didn't know they exist. I mean, they're not anything. They actually came on a Nike card that like hangs in Dick's Sporting Goods, like you buy them off the rack, but they got Mike's name and number stamped inside of them. You can get taken very easily with that stuff, right? Like if somebody would have taken that off and had him sign one and put it in a shadow box and put it on eBay, they probably get thousands of dollars for that, calling them issued Mike Evans gloves. So you just got to be real careful with this stuff and respect your budget. Like, we've had this conversation about how easy it is to spend money on these things, especially and I think an auction kind of heightens it because it's competitive. I know I've gotten into trouble overbidding on items because I'm like, at some point, it's not about getting the item anymore. It's about not losing to whoever's on the other side of that bid. You know what I mean? So I know there's been several times where I'm like, ha, I won. And then like it charges my card and I'm like, oh, damn, I'm in so much trouble. So you got to be real mindful and careful of that stuff.
That happened to me with one specific item, which is still a cool jersey, and it's a great jersey, but I felt like at the time I needed to do it because I didn't have a variation of this type yet too, and it was an NFL auction. And something about just winning it from an auction house too, right? Nobody knows who won it, and it comes straight from the source instead of winning it on like an eBay or buying it off Facebook, and it's like, oh, that's been through 2, 3, 4 hands. It's like, oh, fresh gamer. So I think you're right. On top of the competitive nature, I think it's just like, damn, I'm about to be the second hands on this. Richard asked a fun one. Do you have items of a player, of a fan that's not one of your favorite teams? If so, what's your favorite? I do. I don't do it often, but for example, I would say my personal favorite, because I got it from a game itself, it was when me and my fiance, who's a Packer fan, we could make a little bit of a judgment case on that. But Zach, I took her to Lambeau Field once, and I'm a Penn State guy. And after the game, we had seats by the tunnel. It's a little different in Lambeau. There's like a gap. But Sean Clifford threw up his glove. I actually caught the former Penn State QB's glove at that game. Like, that is an item I'll forever love because A, it's a memory with her. B, it's of a player I really like. C, I don't really care. It's not my team at that point. It's just from the event itself. So I think it's different. I did try and buy a Chargers jersey one time because the player like sacked Tom Brady. And I'm like, oh, maybe this will be cool. It had some, and then I got it in and I don't know. What say you on that type of thing, Zach?
Yeah, well, I'm still hoping to get an item at a game. I've never done it. It's kind of a bucket list thing for me. So I'm really hoping for that. But I have a Falcons jersey and I was waiting for the booze, so that's why I stopped talking. So everybody knows Keith Tandy played for us, and I contacted Keith on Twitter years ago and told him that I was from WVU and I'm a huge Bucs fan, and I've been looking for a Mountaineers jersey for a former Mountaineer that played for the Bucs. And he messaged me back and he was like, "I got you, man. Don't worry. We'll get you all set up." And then we cut him, and and he got signed with the Falcons, and he was there. So at the end of this, I didn't think anything about it. At the end of the year, I messaged him back and I was like, "Hey, man, did you forget about me?" He was like, "No, I still got you. I just don't have any Bucs things left." And I didn't want to just ask you if you wanted a Falcons jersey. And I was like, "Well, I'm not going to say no." So he wrote, "Always a Mountaineer" on the back of it for me, and sent it over. So it's in the closet. I don't display it anywhere. I'd like to, but I can't. My heart won't let me do it. So so I do have a Falcons gamer, but it was a gift from Keith Tandy.
And it's like I said, when you get a gift from a player or catch something at a game, it's a whole lot different. It kind of throws a scenario of who it came from or what it was out of the window. Like I was at a Cubs-Orioles game, and the Orioles first baseman, Colby Mayo, threw a ball into the crowd. It was actually a double play ball off the bat of the Cubs catcher. And then I caught the ball from him. I'm like, I'm not getting rid of this, right? It's cool. I don't care. It's a negative thing. Sometimes it overtakes it, just the backstory. Keith Tandy sending me that. Anthony Gator sent me a CFL jersey. I'll never get rid of that. So just those things. I mean, people don't really understand either. If you're a card collector, you'll get the reference. It's like when you pull a card out of a box, kind of, opposed to buying one on eBay. You're more attached to something you pull because you're the first hands on it. But Zach, what say you in terms of a couple of things, just wrapping up memorabilia talk, any mail days of late, and what's your final word, brother?
Yeah, I picked up a few new ones. Kind of a really cool one that I still have to do a little bit more research on is I got a 25 Godwin with the Godwin Jr. nameplate, but it wasn't worn in 25. It's worn in 24, and they prepped it for 25, but he hasn't worn it in 25. So there's a lot of layers to it. But what's cool about it is, like I said, it does have the junior name badge. It's got the 50th patch on it. It's definitely been worn. It has one of the coolest team repairs that I've seen. Like, I think I photo matched it to the game against the Saints, because he gets his jersey ripped underneath the 1 on the back, and it's a pretty substantial rip. And they patched it with a piece of jersey from another jersey, so it has a pretty gnarly patch on it. So that's one that I'm really interested in. I actually might look into doing the professional photo matching on it, just to validate that it is from that game and have all my T's crossed and I's dotted, because I got such a great deal on it that if I can validate that it is definitely worn in the 24 season, that there's a lot of meat left on that bone. So I'm pretty excited about that. I got a 2016 Alteron Werner. I'm partial to the alarm clocks, and I'm almost ashamed to say that I got this one, but I got the Otten from the Rams game, where he basically hands the ball to the defender. I got that jersey, so it's kind of like the first jersey that I have that has like a really shitty play attached to it. So I am displaying just the front, because 88 is like my favorite jersey number. So I've always wanted an Otten. This one was such a good deal, I really couldn't pass it up. And so I displayed the front of it since it has the 50th patch. So I'll probably keep it displayed front facing because of how shitty that play was that happened in Jersey. But I think it worked in Buffalo as well. So Buffalo and LA.
Yeah, our guy here, Purple, says, I just started collecting again, and I'm having so much fun. Pokemon is whack. But those are great jerseys you picked up, Zach. That Godwin sounds great. I was a big Werner guy, although he had one nice year, then kind of fell off here. I've always liked him. And then Otten, even though some people collect like bad things, right? Some people on eBay will collect like serial killer autographs, or some people
Right.
might collect bad plays. You never know. So maybe that Otten one will be sought after one day. I got a Dabo Sweeney autograph picture, and that was pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I emailed him a long time ago, and I got it randomly in the mail. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then Coach Gator, friend of the program, current cornerbacks coach at FIU, he'll be on the show again soon. He's actually nice enough. He's sending me, they wore like the FIU American flag hat one of the games. He sent me a picture today. He's like, here, bro, have your choice. It was a visor, a hat, and that hat all on the sideline. I'm like, really, bro? He's like, love you, bud. So I just picked one, and he's sending that to me. So I'm like, oh, that's
nice.
for you. And it was worn this season right out of the locker. So that was pretty cool. But other than that, haven't been buying as much lately, only because I will be having a couple big life things happening soon that I'm kind of trying to save money for a little bit. But Zach, any final words between the Saints debacle, Thursday night football, issue jerseys, mail days, anything, brother?
Well, I know we talked a lot about issued and threw a lot of terms around. So if people have questions, just let us know. We'll be glad to help. I also will say that I find it hilarious that you coupled Cade Otton's jersey with serial killer autographs and put those kind of like in the same vein of things, which is great. But other than that, man, try to put this game in your rear view, and let's look forward to Thursday.
Yeah, my apology. I didn't mean it like that, Cade. So, you somehow stumble across it. What I mean is, just the negative connotation tied to the item. But hey, I guess I did do it. So what can you do? But it's been a lot of fun. If you ever have any memorabilia questions, whether it's issued jerseys, game worn versus game used jerseys, autographs, anything, don't be afraid to hit up Zach or myself. We'll do the best we can to help you guys navigate the high seas and try and find out your answer for you. But we will be back tomorrow on a Tune Me Up Tuesday for Thursday's game on a short week. I'm all screwed up here. That's Bucs by 30. I'm Tampa Tones. It's been another beautiful episode of a Man Cave Monday. We'll be back next Monday, I believe. I'll get with Zach and talk if we could do it next Monday. But if so, we'll be back next Monday on yet another Man Cave Monday. Zach, enjoy the night. At least cherish your new jerseys and the JPP signing, brother.
Will do.
That's all
Take
we
care,
can
brother.
do. Fire the damn cannons, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Zach and Tones are out. Bro, we'll put it like that.
Nice.
What's it like? I was actually there in attendance in Cleveland for Coe's first career NFL touchdown, which was awesome. And,
That was awesome.
it was a great game. You could hear me on camera. I was just screaming, "Say it ain't so, Coe! Say it ain't so!" Sadly,
Yes.
from there,
Yeah.
the game kind of went off the rails a little. That was the last high moment of that game, but it was a great game. Overtime loss, fun time.
Yeah.
But how was that moment for you? Seeing the first, whether it was on TV, in person, wherever you were, seeing his first NFL touchdown. How was that?
Well, dude, I mean, we were at home because it was a away game. We don't travel to a lot of the away games because we can get into that later. But to watch that and to think I wished I was there live, so to have your video was so cool, and just that, hey, this is so cool. I mean, that was so cool for us. Catching it from Tom Brady, right? Like he's got the ball yet. I mean, first NFL touchdown means a lot, right? I mean, as a dad, this is so cool to see. And it was fun to watch. And, it didn't have the outcome we wanted, but still the same. What a memory! What a memory to have, right? So,
And honestly,
cool.
those. One of the best guests ever, the Buccaneers in the house. You guys hear him on Tampa radio all the time. He's one of the best in the business. My favorite personal in the business. That's why